make it. It's like this stainless steel blade in my purse. And my husband's like, put that in the checked luggage right now. You don't need that while we're here. Why is that in there? I was like, well, I'm probably toting it to, pen club or something. So
when we took a cruise last year, it was my Christmas present, because at the time I'd never left the country, so it was my wife's Christmas present to me a few years back. And I fly to Florida, going through security, then we go through the security, and it's similar security getting on the cruise ship. And then I'm unpacking, and I have this giant knife in my bag. And it was my backpack, so it was my carry-on bag, just a big old giant knife. And I thought, wow, I made it through both security, both those with that thing in there. And then it was my weapon the whole time until, I was like, well, good, I have a weapon. But then at one point we were off the ship, and I was trying to bring it back on, and they found it.
Oh, and then you were
yeah. And then they held on to it for me till the end of the cruise.
Well, at least you got it back. At least you got it back. That's awesome.
Also, another time was stopped in, because my heart stopped. Every time I go through security in an airport, inevitably they're like, whose bag is this? I'm like, it's mine. But I was with my kids, and there were 22 bullets in my bag.
Oh.
And I didn't know what was about to happen. I know, am I in trouble? And he's counting them. And I asked, am I in any kind of trouble with that? And he said, well, if you have 10 or more, we have to call the police. And he counted out 9. So they just started digging and digging to see if there was a 10th one.
Oh my gosh!
It was only 9, yeah.
So, but we don't have to call the police because you only have 9. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And they did not give those back to me, no. At the end of the trip.
Dang, some of those 22s get expensive. Ooh.
I know. Now I take my bag and I dump and shake before I pack it.
So, short barrel 22 ammo is a thing. So that's Gold Dot SB. So this is actually.
So this looks like, it is. It's 22 WMR, but what does that mean, short barrel?
So this is a magnum load, but it is made for a 2-inch barrel or shorter.
So for handgun loads,
so you're still getting insane velocity and punch in an itty bitty package.
Gosh, look at that, 1,050 per second.
Right?
Muzzle. That's pretty cool.
So it's super cool, and it makes things like this really, really viable. So I kind of want to hit on some of that too.
That's
the
cool.
short
Now,
barrel.
is Spear the first to do that?
No, okay. That's another thing that the rep came in and was talking to us about. Who makes the primers and who's using the primers. So people pass up primers that aren't made by major brands like CCI or Winchester.
Okay.
But there are major ammunition companies that you have purchased ammo from that use this stuff in their cartridge loads. I don't know if I should say it, and I probably don't want to say it on camera, but Remington uses VOG primers.
Interesting. Okay.
So, Federal loads the CCI primers, or CCI uses the Federal.
One of the two.
Yes, and Winchester uses Hornady makes Winchester bullets, or bullets for Winchester. Is it Winchester or something like that? Or maybe it was Remington. Core locked, and the gosh dang it, I think it is the Interlock by Hornady and the Core Lock by Remington. It's the exact same bullet.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And they're all made by Hornady. So you think where your ammunition is coming from. Oh, I only buy factory loads. It's all Remington. It's all USA made. But, then you get little Italian primers and some USA cartridges or something like that. So it works. It's what we got. It's what it's been flying, and running, working great for probably more than one generation at least.
Yeah.
So,
And that is interesting, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised, because it seems like everything kind of comes out of
Yeah, you
I
get.
remember a teacher telling me that if you go to an oil refinery, there's like Amoco and everybody, like all these trucks that are all coming.
BP, Amoco, Casey's truck, Quick Strip Cup. Yeah, they're all there.
Yeah.
So they're all filling up at the same place.
Interesting. And I guess that makes sense too because of the primer. There's really not that many people that make primers. So I get
few.
that.
Yeah.
I do get that. Yeah.
So it is shared over a global market on that. And it's not something that most consumers think about. I never thought about it. I use ammunition in my firearms, of course, so it never occurred to me, where the heck is this primer made?
Right.
Which country manufactured my components for my cartridges? But yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that's interesting. And this was your representative, like the guy,
So,
like your
yeah,
distributor? Or?
No, we just had a walk-in visit from a manufacturer's rep. He was just
Fascinating. Did you take notes?
Oh my gosh. So this was like last summer. I think I'd have to pull my other notebook.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Because I just started this
keep
one.
Good notes, by the way. Like you have notes on everything, and they're all so clear. And like you
try.
would have been a good chemist.
I tried. I did really good in an AP science class. We were doing chemistry.
I bet your lab book was awesome.
They were fun. Oh, they were so much fun. I remember turning in like a math lab book, and across the entire bottom and the side margins, I had a running comic strip going for the entire school year. And the end of the school year, the teacher was like, "Can I keep your notebook?" This is really cool, and I really like the card. Yeah, it was like Art City versus Math City, and the artist came in to paint the town, and then the pencil heads were like, excuse me, but you need to know the surface area, and you need to know all this other. So it went with the notes we were learning for the year.
Interesting. That's fascinating. That was cool.
It was fun.
Not to nerd out, but man, I love science notes and stuff. I used to tell my kids, like, they'd say, well, what was college like for you? I was a very non-traditional student. Like on Friday nights, me and friends would go make graphs in the graph lab, because we didn't have home computers.
No, so you could use the computers at school.
So you'd have to go use the computers at school. Yeah,
I know how that was. I grew up. The only computer we had growing up, it was if we could use the computer lab one, and it wasn't like it is today, where every student has their own computer and multiple computers. It was like there's one computer in the school. So
well, back to everybody's like, are they talking about graphs?
Yes, we are.
Yes,
data is beautiful.
Data is beautiful.
It is. It's really beautiful.
I live on data. Very rare you meet a person who is like, data's great.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
The more points you have to connect the dots and stuff, you utilize that all the time in the gun store.
Well, absolutely, and especially when it comes to amp. Goodness great. I mean, there's data all over the back of this.
Not just that, but it's when a customer comes in and you have to filter through the information of what their needs are, what they want. So you're just gathering little data points and going, okay, so from what you told me, here's what your options are going to fit you the best. So the more data you have, the easier things get, and not just on ballistics or size, compact capacity, whatever.
So on the 22 Magnum, kind of what changed this conversation was saying, well, were they the first to do it? But I guess what you were getting at is there's really kind of even if they're doing it, it's probably somebody else doing it for them.
Everybody,
like they're doing it, it's just different boxes, probably coming from the same factory, my guess.
So CCI usually manufactures Spear. In fact, if you look on these CCI/Spear operations, so you get all of that right there. So you know that anything that's going to be Spear is probably going to use CCI primers, CCI powders, same stuff like that. Likewise, if people know the Spear name and are not familiar with CCI, it works the same way. So so you'll see some of the CCIs come out that have these short barrel ballistics, and I believe there's 22 long rifle coming out that is specifically for high velocity for short barrel, And then we already have the Magnums that are appearing
and that'll
on the
be
shelf.
probably CCI and Spear.
Yeah,
Great.
I want to
Love
say
hearing
there
that.
should be some other manufacturers coming down the line too that'll start to do that as well. Because as soon as somebody comes up with something and everybody goes, "That's a darn good idea," watch how quick everybody else follows along. Like
Absolutely. Well, and they're both such good rounds, I believe, for self-defense. I know a lot of people disagree, but I do. I mean, I think they're great. But anytime you read the velocity, it's definitely probably coming out of an 18-inch barrel or 20-inch barrel kind of thing. So anytime, like in videos where I talk about, okay, well, here's this bullet, it's giving us velocities. Like, well, yeah, but this is nice that it's from a 2-inch barrel.
It
That's
is,
great.
and they do have velocity specific to that short miniature barrel on there, as opposed to, like you said, a standard 16 to a 20-inch rifle barrel. So cool.
That is cool. I like it. What does that thing shoot? Is it 6 or 8?
This one is 7 shots, I believe. This is... I am in deep smit with this firearm.
I like this a lot too.
That
this
is
nice.
The Smith & Wesson 351 PD. It is on a lightweight scandium frame. It has the really bright day glow fiber optic front
That's
sight.
A great sight.
You cannot miss that front sight.
Gosh, that's a great... It's so easy to stage that trigger too.
Isn't it?
Yeah, that is nice. Like I could do that all day long without pulling the trigger, That's great.
It's so nice.
Or without dropping the hammer, I mean.
Brand stinking new too.
Gosh,
so imagine how much better that's going to be once it goes through break-in period.
I like this grip. I remember talking to Brian, the store owner here at Gunners, a long time ago. We interviewed him. It was like our 30th video we ever made. And Laurel actually interviewed him and was talking about what he carried, and he pulled, I believe it was Smith & Wesson revolver out of his pocket. I'm sure it was 38, but it had a nice brown grip on it. And it looked just like that, as a matter of fact.
His wife has one of those.
Yeah, maybe that's his.
And